What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So we are getting ready for our final four-game stretch. If you've seen the last six games, then the Dolphins went from 1-6, literally the worst record in the league, to now tied for like the 12th-ish best record in the league. We literally had the same record as the Chiefs and the Ravens right now, which is just crazy to think about. But we've had pretty easy competition. Let's just be 100%. It's been a nice run. Defenses look good. Coach McDaniel's like, we're doing our job. But, we played Tyler Shuck. We played, Brady, not Tom. We played a Marcus Mariota, not Jaden Daniels. It's been, let's be honest, it ain't been good, right? We haven't played our best competition. But this four-game stretch is all pretty tough competition. And outside of Cincinnati, every team we're playing is vying for a playoff spot. Now, I've been talking about, the last game is against the Patriots. Don't worry about that game. They'll have their seeding. I'm amending that. I've been saying it the whole time because I just assumed, I didn't look at their schedule. I just thought their schedule was pretty easy. It isn't. They play Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, and I want to say Green Bay. Like, their schedule is actually hard. Like, they have a hard schedule, which means that, I doubt they're going to go 4-0 down the stretch. The Broncos currently are the 1 seed, but they have the same record. So the Patriots are like, hey, they're most likely going to be the 1 and 2 seed because the 3 seed is Jacksonville, who's 8-4 or 9-4 right now. So I don't know if Jacksonville has a tie break over either of those teams. They haven't played either one. So divisional record wise, I don't think Jacksonville has a tie break. So if these teams all end at 4 losses, I think they stay exactly how they are right now. But you don't want to possibly lose 3 or 4 and drop down to the 3 seed. Now you got to play the 6, which I think right now is the Chargers. I don't know. The 5 seed is Buffalo right now. So I think most teams want to avoid the 4. And that seems like Houston is destined to try to hop in that spot. And that could be a whole other situation. But let's get back at hand. The guys we're playing are going to be tough. They're all vying for a playoff spot. And the fact that the Patriots will now probably not have that seeding locked up. And depending on what happens in the next Buffalo game, like they lose to Buffalo the next time they play, then our game against the Patriots' last game of the season could determine their divisional record, which could vault Buffalo from the 5-6 all the way up to like the 3. Like it can be a big swing. So now I cannot count the Patriots game as like an easy dub. It doesn't mean we can't beat them. We could have beat the Patriots first time we played this year. We just crumbled down the stretch like we've done so many times. So now we got to add that to the equation. I've been counting it as a win, and now I can't count it as a win anymore. Pittsburgh very much is playing for a playoff spot. They're currently leading their division, but no one thinks they're really that good, and they probably shouldn't be in Baltimore this week. I don't know what that touchdown call was. It seemed fraudulent to me, but not important. They got to play Baltimore again. They have a couple tough games coming up after that. So Pittsburgh is for sure not like a sure thing. Tampa just lost to the Saints, who y'all know I've been on all year as one of the worst teams in the league. I couldn't believe it. And Baker Mayfield played, and so did Bucky Irving, and they still lost the game. So Tampa now is in a situation where if they lose another game, I think Carolina jumps them. And it's like now they're out of the playoffs. So now Tampa's going to be gearing. Like, I don't think Baker's healthy. And the way he plays, he's not going to like get healthier because he plays a little bit recklessly. He throws his body on the line a lot. But a good hope would be if Baker's not fully healthy. Their defense, I think, is still very good against the run, which now is a disadvantage for us because we're a running team at this moment. But so Tampa's got something to play for. Cincinnati's the only team that is basically, I think they have a 1% chance to get in the playoffs, which means I think 4 teams need to lose out and they need to win out, which, what are we talking about? So they're basically just Joe Burrowing it out right now. Like Joe Burrow's just out here slinging just to get his stats up, try to get a rhythm, maybe get like Jamar in the Pro Bowl or whatever. That's the only team that isn't really playing for anything big. Everyone else is going for it. So this is a tough matchup. There's no easy games on the schedule. It's tough quarterback play. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is older, but he's still solid. We know what Joe Burrow is. No need to talk about it. Enough said. Baker Mayfield, gamer. Nothing else to say about it. We know what he does. And Drake May could be playing for the MVP in that game. I think right now Stafford's probably barely leading him. And the Rams are in the 1 seed in the NFC, so that helps Stafford's case. But who knows down the stretch? They play like Seattle again, San Francisco. Rams schedule's not easy. Stafford could have 1 or 2 bad games, and Drake May could be playing for the MVP in that last game of the season. Which, okay, add more stakes to it. It's a tough 4-game stretch. It's just a lot on the line. And again, even if we win all the games, our chance of making it to the playoffs is 16%. And that's assuming a bunch of other stuff goes down. But let's just get like a realistic view of what we're going into, because I think we've been kind of getting high on the supply of bad teams, which is a real thing. You beat up on bad teams, you start feeling like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And it's like, these have been warm-up fights. We're getting to real fights now. And I think, honestly, Pittsburgh's the easiest fight to get into because I don't know what's going on with DK Metcalf. Didn't fly back with the team. They're saying he's got some kind of stomach issues. There's questions whether he's going to play on Sunday. If DK doesn't play, oh my God, that's a giant big hit because their number 2 receivers, Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin, neither of which is even probably a number 3 receiver. They're for sure not a number 2. And Jonnu Smith's been a ghost for them. They're going to be mostly running and defense based. And you can run on Pittsburgh if you commit to it. That falls kind of in line with what we want for our team. Now, if DK does play, then yeah, we got to match up with him. He's a big dude. But let's keep our eye on the DK situation because without him and Aaron Rodgers being, not 100%, the Pittsburgh game may be the best of the games to get started with. We gotta run ahead of us. Attached to this run, though, is the futures of a lot of different people. Coach McDaniel was the very first one because halfway through the season, 3 games, 4 games in, the whole world was saying fire him. Right? People were flying banners, booing him, stadium half attended. He was giving just obscure and random press conferences, saying a bunch of nothing about, the kind of team we want to be in. We talked about this in the offseason. Bro, we are 1-4. Like, what are you saying? But since then, we've beaten up and gotten fat off the weak part of our schedule. It seems like the team is better coached. There's still some game management stuff. The number of timeouts we burn, just like out of TV timeouts, we just can't get a play call in. I would never not bother me. But in general, I think he's managed games well, with the exception of the Washington game at the end where people thought, what are you doing to manage the game? I don't mind the aggression, but it does seem like he's very deliberate in how he's coaching. Like, he's not coaching scared, which I appreciate. I don't like coaches playing scared and coaching scared. I don't like players playing scared, not making plays. Like, I don't like any part of that. I would much rather you go aggressive and lose. It's why so many people like Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell's like, hey, we rolling the dice. And I trust my team, trust my offense. We're going to go for it. Now, does that always work out for him? Nope. It's very often that it doesn't work out for him, actually. But it works out a lot. So when it does work out, it works out. I think Coach McDaniel has a pretty good hold of the team right now. I remember Diana Rossini reported weeks ago that she came into like the locker room expecting people to be like, oh, he's awful, he's trash, I'm off this team. And she got the exact opposite response. It was like, no, he seems to have the team, which was shocking because I think we were 1-5 at the time, maybe 1-6. And it was like, yeah, he hasn't actually lost the team. They're just not playing particularly well, which was accurate. We lost a number of close games. Should have beat Carolina. Could have easily beaten the Patriots. Like, even the first Buffalo game was closer than it looked. Like, there's a number of games that it could have gone the other way, and we just didn't, do it. And I think everybody knew we're better than we're showing. So why would I be down on my coach? Like, if you see guys not making plays or Tua making just inexplicable picks, then it's hard to be like, coach, you're not doing your job. So he's the number 1. Tua obviously is number 2. The contract is an albatross. We understand what it is, but sometimes you have to you got to eat it. I mean, the Russell Wilson thing is the most recent example where the Broncos just say, we taking the L. We'll move on. And they're going to be back-to-back playoffs. They already have more wins now than they had all of last year. And they're still paying on that contract. So it doesn't, I'm not saying it's a death sentence, but it very much is, if you build the rest of the team right, and with the right coach and the right culture, you can win with, a big chunk of your cap being taken out. I don't know if Miami has shown the ability to draft like the Broncos have, but we have plenty of draft picks. Like, why not? We could give it a year run. It would only be a year, and we could extend it to 2 years. We cut them after June 1st. But it's basically 2 years against our cap, about $50 million each year. It's a lot of money. But does that mean starting over and going in a better direction, or at least a cheaper direction? Because Tua, to me, is playing for his NFL job post Miami. That's what these last 4 games could be looking like. Because if we decide to try to trade him in the offseason, there's only 1 or 2 teams that would even do it because of cap situation, and we probably have to take on another bad contract to offset it. This is like a Browns and Deshaun Watson situation where they owe him $80 million, which is just he's $80 million against the cap next year, which is just crazy how bad that contract was. I don't know how many more years is left on that deal though, so that may be like the last year of that deal, and they just want to get him out of the building because they are choosing to build around Shador, and we'll get into Shador later in the week. But if they just want to get Deshaun out of the building, and they say, hey, we'll take on Deshaun, you take on his $80 million, we'll take on Tua's 99 or whatever, but extend him for a couple. Like they can kind of figure out the numbers. If it's the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, that's the thing. The Raiders are terrible. They're gonna draft the quarterback, probably number 1, number 2. Like right now, I think the Giants are the number 1 pick, but they have Dart, so they're not gonna draft the quarterback. Obviously, they're gonna trade the pick, and the Raiders are right there for it. So would you want to have Geno train your rookie quarterback, or Aiden O'Connell, who's also bad, or Kenny Pickett, who's also bad, or Tua? I'm just throwing some stuff out there. These are all far-fetched. I get it. People be hitting me up like, who's going to want Tua's contract? Almost nobody. Duh. I'm just saying. These last few games is like, are you viable to even be on a team? Or are you going to just be relegated to being a free agent type player, hoping that somebody gets hurt and like a Phillip Rivers type situation emerges where, hey, we think we're a pretty good team, but we don't have a quarterback. Let's call some guy off the street. I don't think Tua can't pick up a playbook, but I do think the offense needs to be very specific. So he's playing for his, I think, long-term future. I think most teams in the league are out on Tua, but if he shows cold weather games, good competition, yeah, I've overcome those bugaboos. Who knows? I mean, Pittsburgh's not going to have a quarterback after this year. I think Aaron Rodgers is done after this year. Who's their quarterback? They're going to be picking 15 to 20 again. They're going to get the 4th best quarterback in the draft. That's not going to help them. They're going to go back to Mason Rudolph. What are we doing? I'm just saying there's a lot on the line for him. We'll see what happens. Other than that, like we have a lot of 1-year guys too. Like a quarter of our roster is 1-year players who all, I presume, want to keep playing football. Now, some of these guys have been hurt already, like the Artie Burns type guys are already hurt and out for the year. So if they get re-signed, it would just be based off of we liked you in the offseason and you got hurt. Some people are playing to get re-signed. They're like, hey, y'all didn't like me in the offseason. Miami signed me. I showed that I got some value. Can I have value for you for a couple-year extension? So there are people playing for their NFL jobs outside of Miami because they know we're not going to re-sign them for next year. That's another thing on the table. So as much as the playoffs seem kind of far-fetched at the moment, there are a lot of people playing for job security, playing for their own futures. And I think that's what I'm looking at down the stretch. Of course, I want to win every game. Of course. I don't want to be embarrassed by against any of these teams. Like, let's not do that. There's no reason why we can't compete with all these teams. There's no reason why if we play our game, we can't beat any of them. There's no reason for that. But we have to play our game. And that includes coach, quarterback, situational. We need a healthy H-Chan. We need a defense to play well against bad teams. We need a pass rush to, stay where it is. And part of that is because we play bad quarterbacks who hold the ball long. But Joe Burrow's not going to hold the ball like more than he needs to. Aaron Rodgers is pretty good at getting rid of the ball. Baker will hold the ball. Baker thinks he can just hold and stiff arm people. And then Drake May basically doesn't get sacked. So there's a lot on the line. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens. Unfortunately, we have to end on a story like this because we don't want to duck topics here. We don't want to not talk about anything. Tyreek Hill is being investigated by NFL again for another domestic violence incident with his ex-wife. This is not a new incident. They're just researching the claim she made during her divorce filings. So this is months ago. She said it. I think they were supposed to investigate a few months ago, and then either they didn't get enough in an interview that weren't being investigated, or they just postponed the investigation until now. That's a little murky at the moment. But she made 8 separate claims against Tyreek, and they're going to look into it. They're going to interview her. I assume interview Tyreek. I don't think there are any eyewitnesses because I think these occurred inside the home. So maybe there's some kind of, ring cam situation. They'll do their due diligence. The NFL has tremendous resources to get to the bottom of stuff. So they'll figure out, is this substantiated? Is this something that we need to look into further? The problem for Tyreek is this is his third time being in this situation. This happened all the way back at Oklahoma State when he was at college. He got accused and eventually got dropped from their track team and their football team. So that's why, if you wonder why he's such a low draft pick, with as talented as he is, it's because he had domestic issues on his record. Then in 2019, he got another claim from his ex-wife, the mother of, I think, two of his kids currently, and then now this is his current ex-wife. So this is not the first time he's been through this. It's not the second time he's been through this. It's the third time. And the league is pretty punishable for like recidivist people. If you have a drug issue and then you get caught another drug issue, the penalty keeps jumping. Tyreek he wasn't suspended in 2019, but because this air has been around him a long time, if they find anything that they can substantiate, then he will for sure be suspended for some portion of next year, if not the whole season, depending on what they find. This obviously looms large because he's in the last year of his contract. Like, a lot of money owed to him. I think it's $36 million owed to him, which I think we can void. But, a lot of money on the table. Him coming off an injury. So you got injury, a lot of money, older, league investigation, possible suspension. Not a good formula. He's been talking about retiring. I never believed that. I think he's just talking. Again, he's got too many kids and too many obligations. I don't believe he's going to retire. But I do know that there's a lot of stuff hanging over him. And that price tag is, I think, second in the league at $36 million in terms of the cap hit behind Jamar Chase. He's obviously at this point not the second best receiver, especially off an injury, especially getting older. And if he misses games because he's suspended, why would I give you $36 million if you're going to miss 6, 12, half? Like, it's a lot of games in the season. It's not a great look. I mean, we'll get more information as the league comes down. This is like in the preliminary stages of it, so we're not going to say guilty or not guilty right now. We're just saying there's a lot of smoke around Tyreek, and there's been a lot of smoke a number of times for a lot of years. And if they find anything that they can pin on him, it's going to be a suspension. There's just no way around it. And the question is, how long will it be? And because of his track record, that's why I'm saying it's going to be a longer than a short. I don't see a 2-game suspension. I don't even see a 4. I see minimum 6. Most likely half the season because they got to make an example. And depending on, how substantiated the claims are, it could be longer. So we all like Tyreek as a player. He's electric. He's in some respects kind of been the face of the team for the last few years. But when somebody messes up and there's some stuff around you, we got to talk about it. We can't skirt around it and talk about you doing backflips and being a cheetah and all that and not talk about this too. That would be irresponsible. So we're going to keep our eyes on this. I think this investigation is going to go through the rest of this season toward the beginning of next year. I don't believe this is going to be wrapped up in a couple months. This is going to be some time. So the offseason, we'll keep our ears to the ground, keep our eyes open, see what they say, and we'll take it from there. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.